I'm talking this week about helping to raise our children's recognition of their success. And in doing so, we tend to help them then to recognize, or boost their self confidence, and other factors which I'll discuss this morning. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you 7 tips as quickly as possible. Um, so let's think about this. The first thing we have to think about is we need to be, recognizing our own successes, and that's a problem for an awful lot of people. Adults, doesn't matter about the kids. Adults, we don't do that. We tend to be very busy, and as a result, this never-ending to-do list just keeps going and going and going, and we don't stop to actually go, I actually have achieved something. And my question to is this actually good for us to just keep, next, like a conveyor belt of everything we have to do, and never stopping to recognize that we've actually achieved some things in our lives? It can get out of hand at times. In fact, we don't recognize anything, big or small. We just keep going and keep going, and therefore we don't give it due consideration. So my question to you is this really good for us? And I would say to you, no, it's not. And I'd also ask you, is this good for our children to see? Particularly if we want them to feel confident about themselves and in themselves and their abilities, they do really need to recognize their success. And we're the ones that, as parents, we have to teach them that. And the best way to teach them that is by modeling it yourself. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small. We need to, first of all, really start by recognizing, yes, we have achievements there, and to talk about those and to celebrate them with our own kids. So modeling and teaching the behavior is one of the ways you can do that. And it's one of my first points, but it's not the first tip. So that's just about yourself. That's just ourselves as adults, as parents, what we can do. The first tip I'd go on to say is, and it'll help you, never mind them, is to drop the comparison game. That's the first point. There is nothing at all that's going to beat down your self-confidence and beat down the child's self-confidence, their resilience, their motivation better than comparison. So when we enter into this game, this comparison game, and comparing ourselves to others and comparing the child to others, we're going to feel pretty bad about ourselves when we do it. We certainly don't want to put those those negative feelings, those negative connotations of never being good enough onto our children. So again, we need to be modeling this behavior, because even if you think you're not showing it to them, they'll be seeing it. Kids are brilliant at picking up things. So please stop now and watch the behavior that you're doing, particularly around this comparison game. There's an awful lot out there with social media, and in the media and different magazines and on television and that. Watch what you're watching and you're looking at, and what you're comparing yourself to. As I said, comparisons will only destroy, and that's not what we want. We want to instead be focusing on celebrating what they've achieved, no matter how big or small it is. So think of it as a positive cycle instead of the negative. Self-comparison is, the comparison game is all about a negative cycle. So what we want to do is switch over tracks and go into a positive cycle. So we celebrate what they've succeeded. We celebrate what we've succeeded as well, because they're going to see you modeling this. This will build motivation and self-confidence. And then this in turn helps them to continue on, even when they make mistakes, but they will continue on and they will succeed again. So it's a positive cycle we want to build there, rather than a negative one with the comparison game. So stop the comparison game is the first tip. Second tip is about failure. It's about reframing our idea of failure and mistakes. We want to think about mistakes as learning opportunities. And I've talked about this, I've done a whole video on this, in fact. But just a reminder that, even for kids, we've got to start showing them that, most significant, if you look at history, most significant scientific, technology, medicine-based mistakes were actually ended up being successes. They were the ones that involved trial and error, and that's how people achieve things. And it's okay to make a mistake. Encourage the child to analyze what happened, what went wrong, what went well. And that's something we forget. When we focus on what went wrong, we forget to include what went right, or what went well for us. And there's always something to learn from it. There is always something that will have gone wrong. So do not eliminate that. And as again, you can look at other questions such as what did go well, what didn't go well. Was there any external factors that contributed to what went wrong? What did they learn? What did we learn? What can we learn? You're as a team, work with a team, with your child. What went wrong? Can you ask for advice? Can you ask for support? Can you ask for help? Brainstorm ideas of what could go right the next time with them. Don't do it for them. And I would say age appropriate, but help them to see, okay, what could you try better the next time? And get them to start the ball rolling on brainstorming. Make a plan. Help them to make a plan, to improve things and do it differently the next time. Create an action list, small steps that they could take. And it's the small steps that can lead to the bigger wins, rather than trying to take too big a step sometimes that will get it right. The most important thing, and I think the most important step with reframing failure, is to celebrate what they've learned. So again, you're in that positive cycle. You're celebrating with them what they've learned, and then to teach them, not to dwell on the past, not to dwell on the mistake. Don't dwell on it. Move on. Most successful people, people that they've analysed in business in particular, they've been shown to move very quickly on from mistakes. They learn, what do I need to learn from this, and then they're gone. They're moving on. They're not dwelling on it. So that's important that we teach them not to dwell on it. So again, sometimes we as parents, we have to get out of their way. We have to allow them to make mistakes and take risks. And that's something as parents we're like, no, I've been there, I've done that myself, with my own kids and my grandkids. We don't want them to make mistakes. We don't want them to take the risk. Again, it's going to be age appropriate, but they do need to be allowed to experience consequences. We need to encourage them to have another go and find out the knowledge they need, and build on that. And that then builds on their self-confidence and their resilience. We want to encourage them to start problem solving and to take responsibility for the consequences of their action. And you can talk to them about this, because this will inevitably empower them. Again, though, we supervise from the sidelines. We set up situations, small situations that are age appropriate, that will encourage them to try new things, without the fear of failing. We try to do it. Again, think very small steps. So think about demonstrating, basic skills in the kitchen, basic skills at home, and then allowing them to try them for themselves. Again, age appropriate. Encourage them to explore when you're out and about. Try new foods, try new hobbies, expand their views and their experiences. This will build their self-confidence, and it's allowing them to take risks and make mistakes in a more controlled environment, but you're not hovering. You're not like, oh, you can't do that. Allow them to make those mistakes and take the risks, and it will build their self-confidence, and it will build their success in handling new situations and people. They're going to meet new people. They're always going to be meeting new people. So we have to allow them to do that. The next point I'd make, and I've done a whole video on this one, so you could head over and have a look at this one. And this is make time for the connections and the conversations. So again, this is where you talk about brainstorming the ideas together. The dinner table is a great place to have a chat with kids in the evenings. How did your day go? Allow them to express themselves and their view, and to learn how to show respect to one another when they're doing that, to you and to their other siblings. If they do that, the whole idea here is to teach them interpersonal skills. They need to feel comfortable expressing their views. When they're doing that with you, they're more likely to be speaking up in class. They're more likely to be taking a chance and speaking up in hobbies and clubs and wherever they are, and the interactions they are having with others. So they also need to be comfortable with asking for help, not just in giving help. So if they're withdrawn and they're not able to ask for help at home, they're certainly not going to be able to do it outside the home. So remember, these are life skills. This is a life skill you're teaching them. They're learning around that dinner table or around lunchtime or whenever you're having conversations as a family. Movie nights are another great way of having relaxed conversations. Or activities outside the home as well, where you're all together as a family, is a great way for conversations to start and flow. But they're learning not only to express themselves, but also to listen to others and to have compassion and empathy, to have respect, to learn trust, to learn about diversity, and to learn about resolving conflicts effectively. And again, as parents, we're their first role model. We have to remember that. So make that time to build that connection, and have the conversations that you need to have with them. The two things that are the most important point here on this, and I think they're probably the most important points in the whole video this morning, is that the kids need to know that you're there for them no matter what, and that you will love them no matter what. Those are the two most vital things they need. They're huge, and these alone will have a huge impact on how they view themselves and their world and their success. Their self-confidence will be impacted. They need to know they've got you having their back, basically. That's the two most important points there. So they need that reassurance. They need that constant, I love you, I'm here for you no matter what, you can tell me anything. They need that constantly told to them. And you might feel, God, I shouldn't be having to say that to a teenager. I've been telling them that since they were small. Say it. Just say it. Just keep saying it. No matter how old they get, even as adults, you can still say it to them. Next tip would be to focus on what they want to achieve. Now this one, I've seen this so many times, go wrong so many times, I should say. We have to remember as adults that our children are not there to relive our childhood. They are not there to be like you, to follow your dreams. It's all about what they want and what they want to try. That's what matters. So it's what matters most to them. Kids will want to, they need certain things. They need food and shelter. They need to feel safe. They need to sleep. They need to stress less. They need free time to just be kids. They need time with their friends. And yes, in turn, children will want to, please you, make you feel proud of them. They want their teachers to feel proud of them, or their club leader to feel proud of them, or their sports coach to feel proud of them. They will want to get a job. They probably will want to go to college or take up an apprenticeship or whatever. But please put aside your assumptions of what they want to do or what they should be doing. Help them to see instead, and this goes back to the last point I made, it's what is important to them is also important to you. that what they want to achieve, that you'll be happy no matter what they do. You're going to be happy and proud of them no matter what they do, and that's important to you too. So in doing this, you're helping them to recognize their success is your success, and that's it. Doesn't matter what they do. It mightn't be what you would have thought they'd do, but it's what they want to do matters most, and it makes them happy. The other thing is to start with what they already know. So you wanna set them up for success by building on what they already know. That's what we're doing here. So start with what they already know about something. Ask them. Don't make an assumption just because they're a certain age that they should know something. Ask them what they already know. No matter what matters to them. Get them curious. Are they interested in this? You want them to be open-minded about learning as much as possible. Always keep it positive, especially, when around what they're getting right. No matter what it is, no matter how small it is, always keep it positive. So in other words, compliment. Don't critique their work, their games or their fun stuff. Don't be critical of it. They're doing the best they can, so compliment. Err on the side of positive rather than on the negative. Again, going back to what points I said about, reframing any sort of sense of failure or any sort of mistake. Reframe it rather than critique it. Don't go down on the negative side. A couple more points would be, about goals and teaching them realistic goals. Again, this is going to be very much going to be age appropriate. But even you can do it. You're not getting down with a piece of paper or a planner or something with a younger child, but you are teaching them realistically what they can do. So you're setting them boundaries are going to be realistic at the start. But in terms of goals, they're going to have, as they get older, they maybe particularly in secondary school, they're going to be setting goals for themselves, but they should be positive and realistic. Talk to them about these goals. The one thing you want to be very careful around here is you yourself are going to be setting goals in various areas of your life. So be very careful about how you talk about your own goals, how you talk about your own achievements around those goals, because they are listening. Even if you think they're not listening, they are listening from a very young age. So make sure that you are again modeling the whole idea is of, okay, if I didn't achieve the goal, what did I learn? How much did I achieve? That's still a win. So again, on the positive, be very careful of any negatives that you might place on something. So make sure that the goal isn't too big for them, that they are doing, as I said before, smaller steps, actionable steps will lead to the bigger success. And that is much better when you're trying to change something or achieve something. Let them know it can be hard, but they can achieve it. Again, I've used this before. I don't know how to do it yet. It's always that word yet at the end of something is very, very, that can make all the difference. That's a vital word. There's words we should eliminate from the dictionary, but that word should be, maybe on page 1. I can do it. Maybe I can't do it right now, but I can do it and I will be able to do it. That's what that's implying. Sorry, excuse me. Show them how to get organised. They don't know how to get organised. Don't assume the school is going to show them how to get organised, how to get focused, how to get on track with things, how to set those small achievable goals and break them down. So that might mean you need to do some learning yourself. This helps to motivate them when they are organised and focused and on track, and they can see that it can be broken down. A project can be broken down into very, very small steps. Something that takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes max, then that builds motivation. But it also helps to eliminate unnecessary stress. that can come from being disorganized and not knowing where to start on something. So this is where, having those conversations, come to me, talk to me, we can brainstorm things out together. This is where that is. So, motivation will get them going. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes they have to learn that it's these habits, good habits of being organized, of asking for help. That's a habit, asking for help, asking for you to support them in brainstorming out some ideas together is a habit. That will get them started, and then the motivation might turn up, and then you can keep going. One point I made in the blog here was, that it's self-discipline. In other words, the habits are good habits is going to be a better predictor of success than IQ. So that's a good point here that we need to remember. The last point I'll make is about motivation. Motivation is important for our success. But as I said, motivation mightn't be there initially. It can be hard to get motivated sometimes. But if we can break down the project, even if we can get the first 1 to 2 steps, and sometimes that's all we need to get going, is that first step or the second step. And then to notice that those are small wins. We've got there with those small wins by breaking down the project into those small actionable steps. That first 1 to 2 steps is a small win. Each one is a small win. When we recognize that builds the motivation. That's when it comes along, because when we celebrate them, the brain is getting the message. These are important. It's reinforcing that, any changes that we're making is important, that we want to keep doing it, and therefore that'll build motivation. So the thing I would say to you here is, just keep a record of the success. We're not doing a wall chart or anything like that, and it'll be completely personal to the child. What their small wins are. A jar, you can use a simple jar, pop a little piece of paper, fold it up, put it in, and for them to see it. They could use a journal if they're older, and win of the day. So it could be that they got that project, the first step of the project done. Ticking it off. When we're ticking off our projects, and we can see our checklist done, and that each small step is completed, that's a win, and it reinforces those wins in our brain and reinforces motivation. The thing I would say to you here is, don't forget treats and rewards, and I've talked about treats and rewards here. Treats free. It can be something as simple as picking a movie for movie night, a hot chocolate, something like that. And then a reward could be something a bit bigger, tends to cost some money, but you can work that out with them, a treats and reward system that's appropriate for them, and that what they would find, useful or appeals to them when it's put in place. And again, that can help with motivation, and it can help with recognizing their success. So I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, as always, I'm very happy to answer them. Pop the questions in the description below. I'll happily answer them. And I will leave it there. I will talk to you all next week. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you for everybody who watches in replay, here and over on YouTube. And again, as always, good morning. Deirdre is here this morning, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.